It is officially summer, and I think that part of the shift into a new season is honestly getting into that season's state of mind. For me, that in large part happens when I start consuming seasonal content. The same way that that first sip of hot chocolate or the first day you have to pull out a cozy cardigan for fall can transport you into the cooler seasons, there are definitely certain things that just turn the summer switch on in my brain that I consume sometimes each year, sometimes every few years. And I thought it would be really fun today to give you the full lineup of what to watch, listen to, and read to get in the summer state of mind. So, this will be a heavy episode of what to consume. Hope you guys enjoy. And before we get into my list of all of my best summer recommendations, let's do a little create and consume as we do at the beginning of each episode. As far as what I have been creating this week, I posted a little carousel on my Instagram account, and I also reposted the same text and image over on LinkedIn to celebrate my blog turning 13. So technically, my blog's anniversary is June 20th. Somehow completely missed that. It's been a busy couple of weeks here, and I think that date just got misplaced at some point. So I caught it on the last day of the month on June 30th and said, wait, I need to post for Keep Calm and Chiffon's 13th anniversary, which is so crazy. And I started that blog, like I said, back in 2012. It really was just an experiment to document my outfits over a summer on a format that was not just Tumblr. I had been uploading some outfits to a Tumblr, which at the time I believe was called Urban Sunshine and Blair Waldorf.tumblr.com, longest URL ever in mankind. So that is just crazy and unhinged. And I was also uploading my photos to a website called lookbook.new, if any of you guys remember that. Also, let me know if you would be interested in me doing an episode diving back into the early days of blogging and what that all looked like back in 2010, 2011, 2012, because it feels almost like a different lifetime ago when I started compared to what blogging and obviously the whole influencer industry looks like today. But I feel like it's a really important and specific moment in time. I could talk about some of my favorite bloggers from that era, the moment that things really started shifting away from how magazines were, and so much more. So if that's of interest to you, please send me a DM or leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or leave a comment on Spotify if that's where you're listening as well, and let me know. All of that to say, a lot has changed in the world of blogging, but one thing that has not changed is my love of writing, my love of storytelling, and my love of owning my own little corner of the internet. That has always been what a blog really is to me. It is a digital portfolio. It is all of my writing samples, essentially. It's a way for me to be super creative. There are a bunch of articles that I've written for my blog over the years that were failed pitches for other publications. And it's basically been a place for me to see all of my creative ideas through. And because of that, it's something that I really cherish and that I obviously still contribute to today, if you know that about me and follow along. So if you've never been on my blog, Keep Calm and Chiffon, please go check it out and let me know what you think. I write about pretty much everything at this point. I started out with strictly fashion. I would say the blog was fashion for the first 4 or so years. Then I slowly began to branch out into beauty, a little bit of career advice, and also a lot of travel content. I absolutely love being able to share travel itineraries with people, where we went, what we did, where we stayed, and to be able to have that all in one place, even just to send to family and friends who might be planning similar trips, and also to help people on the internet who are searching for something and hopefully finding my content that I put a lot of time and effort into. So happy 13th birthday to Keep Calm and Chiffon. And I wrote just a little tribute of my thoughts over on Instagram, and I also cross posted to LinkedIn because I'm trying to be a LinkedIn girly. It's going okay, I would say. It's just kind of hard to remember to post there in the midst of everything else that I've been doing. But I do also have some help now on the podcast, which is really exciting. I wanted to shout out Priya, who's my new virtual assistant. She's also been, an audience member of mine for a while. So in some ways, I already felt like we knew each other before we started working together. But she just got started with me last week, helping me now with the podcast socials and blog. So I'm super grateful and happy to have her on board. Okay, as far as what I'm consuming this week, I'm going to spoil one of the things that is later in this episode right now, because I am finally watching Love Island USA season 7. Now, I'm going to keep this spoiler free because there are obviously episodes still airing in real time. I am caught up to, I think, episode 18 at this point. I know that Casa Amor is going to happen in the next episode that I watch. And can I just say, I am fully shook from this past elimination of this episode. And the way that that one worked was essentially like America was voting for their favorite islanders. And then between the bottom three boys and the bottom three girls, the rest of the islanders had to vote someone off. I have so many questions for the men of this season. Like, I'm actually so surprised by what they chose to do. But anyway, if you don't watch Love Island, it is basically a reality TV show, it's a dating competition. I actually watched the very first season of Love Island USA. I want to say back in like 2018 or something, because I actually did a brand partnership with them. If I can find the link on Instagram, I will go back and link it in the show notes. I hopefully have saved it to my portfolio somewhere so I don't actually have to scroll back to 2018, because that would be a nightmare. And Instagram, why won't you just give us search functionality for our own profiles? I don't understand. But anyway, I did this post for Love Island USA when the very first season came out. And I have also now since watched a couple of the UK seasons. I've watched 4 and 5 of Love Island UK, and then I've watched 1 and 6 of Love Island USA. And now I'm getting caught up on season 7, which is shooting and airing essentially in real time. And I've never actually been able to watch a Love Island season as it's airing before, just because it is such a crazy time commitment. I don't really know how people keep up with every single episode, but I'm determined to be like as current of a watcher as I can be. And luckily, because it's summer, I have a little bit of time to play with here and there. So I'm kind of just slotting in episodes wherever I can. I did end up getting Peacock Premium, so now I don't have ads to slow me down, barreling through just whenever I get a chance to watch it. And it's been really interesting so far. So if you're watching, please let me know your thoughts. Hopefully, I'll be caught up to present day, but please give me a little like spoiler warning or just check in to see where I am before we discuss, because I really want to try to stay as unspoiled as possible, if that's even possible. I'm like muting words on threads. I'm just trying to quickly scroll past everyone's Instagram stories. It's a rough life out here trying to avoid Love Island USA spoilers. It's much easier said than done. With that being said, let's get into the main topic of today's episode. I'm going to be sharing the best summer TV shows, the best summer movies, the best summer books, and the best summer music that really just transports me and gets me into that summer state of mind. So whether you are in the city this summer, whether you're mostly just chilling at home, or whether you manage to escape to nature for a few months of the year, whatever your ideal version of summer is in your head, my goal is to give you this list to kind of transport you into the summer state of mind. And for me, honestly, my summers are typically spent in the city. I mean, when I was in college, my summers were spent interning in New York City, which mostly meant like carrying a lot of clothes and garment bags from place to place, whether I was interning for the designer that I interned for between my freshman year and my sophomore year, or whether I was a magazine intern trying to help clothes get from, a PR agency over to a photo shoot and then to the dry cleaner and then back to the agency, and making sure that nothing got damaged in the process. Most of my summers are typically spent like running around the city being very sweaty. So that's kind of how I picture summer. And I do have a couple of things in here that I would say tie into that. But if you are like, no, get me to the beach, that sounds stressful. First of all, I completely understand it. It can be a little stressful, but I do think that having your vision of summer in mind is always fun. And that's why I also like to sometimes watch these shows or listen to these songs to feel a little bit of that summer energy and escape, even if I am, in my day to day routine for part of summer too. Let's get started with summer television. Now, when I was growing up, I feel like fall TV was always what I looked forward to the most, because it would align with me going back to school and kind of getting back into a routine. Summer TV, it is a little harder to stay in a routine with, especially for something like Love Island, where there are so many episodes. But I feel like the beauty of summer TV is more so like the summer binge. So you're inside, you've been out all day. Now you need to just blast the air conditioning, order takeout, and have a little reset night. These are the shows that I would want to binge if I just had a full night to myself where I was laying low, just showered, wet hair up in a bun, takeout in front of you, locked in for the evening. So that's kind of how I picture watching summer television shows. The very first one I need to recommend has summer in the title, so it had to be in this episode. And also, I'm obsessed with it. The Summer I Turned Pretty on Amazon Prime. So I'm going to also try to make sure I mention how many seasons of each show there are and where you can watch these shows. Summer I Turned Pretty is on Amazon Prime. Like I said, there are 2 seasons out now. The third season premieres on July 16th, 2025, which is Andrew's birthday. How unlucky for him, because I am absolutely going to be wanting to watch this as soon as it drops. So sorry in advance, Andrew. But can I just say that The Summer I Turned Pretty is like based on the books by Jenny Han that are some of my all-time favorite books from when I was growing up. These are basically young adult novels about a girl named Belly and her family who vacation at a beach called Cousins every year. And for a long time, it was very like family friends dynamic. But then The Summer I Turned Pretty is kind of about when the boys of the family that she visits start seeing her a little bit differently. And as you can assume, there is a love triangle of sorts that unfolds. It is probably one of the most polarizing love triangles, even though I think there is a very clear answer of which team you should be on. Again, I'm going to try to keep everything as spoiler free as possible and just focus on the vibes for purposes of this episode. But if you want to talk about any of these shows or movies whatsoever, please DM me because I am ready to chat. But anyway, it's just very like New England summery vibes. It's very reminiscent of summers when you were a teenager and growing up, even if you didn't have this exact experience. Like I didn't have family friends with a beach house that we went to every year. You can still pick up on little moments where it's like they're playing volleyball or they're going out on the boardwalk. Like there are just those little nostalgic memories that even if they weren't consistent for you, you maybe encountered at one point or another. And that's one of the things I love most about it. I kind of want to reread the books. I feel like I would honestly fly right through them. And I still own all 3. They're at my parents' house. But I've rewatched season 1. I rewatched it when we flew to Italy, and I want to rewatch season 2. I just want to refresh my memory on what happened in season 2 of the show, even though I remember book 2 and then I remember book 3. Obviously, not all the details because it's been a while since I read them, but I know like what the outcome of the books is, and I'm curious to see whether or not the TV show follows the outcome of the books. And it really is just one of those feel good shows. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's definitely a lot of like real world stuff that happens throughout the show as well. And I think that that is part of what makes it so like what gets you so invested in it as a viewer. You really start to care about all the characters, and that's the kind of show that I want to watch personally. Okay, my next recommendation is a limited series that came out last year on Netflix. It's called The Perfect Couple, and it is based on the novel by Ellen Hildebrand, which we actually read for book club last year. So I was able to read the book and then watch the show. Actually, from my list, these are the only 2 TV adaptations. So you can go ahead and add those books to the list, kind of jump ahead a little bit. That's the thing about this episode is I feel like some of these categories and topics are going to bleed into each other. The premise of The Perfect Couple is this couple is getting married, and the groom, his family has a beach house on Nantucket, and they are planning to get married on that private area of the beach in the backyard. So they have their rehearsal dinner and everything. However, the morning of the wedding, they wake up and one of the members of the wedding party is found dead. So now suddenly everyone is a suspect. And I like that the book and the TV show both get told in flashbacks. I kind of like that idea of you start out knowing how it ends, or so you think, or at least you know like a little bit of what the ending is, and then you work backwards to say like how did we get here, how did we work up to this point. That's honestly one of my favorite storytelling methods, is to introduce what you think is the ending or what you know to be the ending at the beginning, and then to work backwards to be like, how did we even get here in the first place? And I think this show was cast wonderfully. I love Megan Fahey in anything, but really, like, she did have the perfect role in this. I feel like the only person who maybe could have been cast differently was Amelia, but at the end of the day, I'm still fine with who they chose and how it all kind of shook out. But again, this is like summer New England vibes, a little bit of mystery thriller to it. I know some people like happy go lucky summer vibes, and some people are like, give me summer with a twist. This is definitely summer with a twist. So you could add this to your queue on Netflix. Okay, next recommendation, this will come as a surprise to no one, I'm sure, is The White Lotus. There are 3 seasons of this. You can watch it on HBO Max. Are we back to calling it HBO Max now? I think they announced that they are. If not, it's just Max, but honestly, we all call it HBO Max. So if they did return to the original name, I think that was the right branding call on their part. But none of that has to do with the show itself. So The White Lotus, as you probably have already heard, is a show that each season is set at a different White Lotus resort throughout the world. So season 1 is set in Hawaii, season 2 is set in Italy, and season 3 is set in Thailand. The show is created by Mike White, who, fun fact, well, you probably know this already, but two of my favorite fun facts about Mike White are, number one, that he went on both Survivor and The Amazing Race. On The Amazing Race, he competes with his dad, and it's actually such like a cute, wholesome dynamic. I highly recommend watching his season of that. I haven't watched his Survivor season, but I've heard like pretty funny things about it. And I think he's going to be on the next season of Survivor as well. Like, I don't know if they're doing an all-star season or what, but I believe he's coming back again. And then my other fun fact about Mike White is he both wrote and starred in School of Rock. He was Ned Schneebly. That is such a crazy last name. Also, can we just talk about that for a minute? And then, of course, Jack Black like jumps in and he's like, "I'm Mr. Schneebly," and he's trying to write it on the chalkboard and he has no idea how to spell it, because how do you even spell that? And I love that this gives you those summer beachy paradise vibes, but in three totally different settings. So I would recommend watching them in order because there are a few recurring characters. So you should go, season 1, 2, and then 3 if you can. I think season 2 is probably my favorite. Again, Megan Fahey. Anything that she's in, I'm just like, sign me up for more. Also, Theo James is in season 2, and Jennifer Coolidge is in seasons 1 and 2. I just love watching her in this role. It feels like a role that was written so specifically for her and that she nailed so perfectly. Oh my God. I would rewatch also The White Lotus. I know we just watched season 3. I want to say that wrapped in like April of 2025, but I would rewatch any of the seasons. I think they're all really, really well done. Also, while I'm here in HBO Max territory, I would recommend Sex and the City. And I believe the original has 6 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. There can't be more than 7. And then there are obviously 2 movies, and then there's obviously And Just Like That. Now, I have to say, I watched episode 1 of And Just Like That, and I had to stop. Like that, I see what they're trying to do. I kind of get the vibe, but then I just had to stop. And I've heard that it's gone a little more off the rails even since then. If you're enjoying that though, and you think I should give it a second try, let me know. I just feel like I am pretty spoiled on everything at this point because I've kind of already decided I'm not going to watch it. And Sex and the City to me is just such a summary show. Like, I think of them on the rooftop. I think of the episodes where they go to LA. I think of the Hamptons episode. There is just so much fun stuff that gets tied in. And even when there are colder season episodes, it still feels a little bit like that fun summer sexy state of mind, if you want to call it that. Whenever I picture Sex in the City, I just picture the summary episodes. So that is definitely one that is always great for a rewatch. I mean, I've probably rewatched it 2 or 3 times at this point, and that's also fun to watch if you're watching it for the first time ever. Now, I already talked to you guys a little bit about Love Island USA when we talked about Create and Consume, and I am watching that right now on Peacock. So I believe seasons 4 through 7 of Love Island USA are on Peacock. I believe the UK Love Island and the first 3 seasons of USA are on Hulu, though. So definitely wanted to mention that. And if you're going to watch the UK, I don't know all of the seasons super well, but my friend Caitlin is a Love Island expert at this point. So she told me to start with seasons 4 and 5, which I did. I watched both of those of the UK. And then if you're going to start Love Island USA, honestly, go back and watch season 6 from last year. I feel like there has not been a season like that in a long time. And I feel like season 7, as a result, has a lot to live up to. I would say it's doing like a decent job. I'm engaged. I'm curious about what's going to happen next. I will say there are fewer people that I like care a lot about at this early point in the season, but maybe that will change in a few weeks. We'll see how it goes. And then related to that, Bachelor in Paradise. Now, I want to do a whole episode, and I think I'm going to do it as soon as I watch the premiere of Bachelor in Paradise season 10, which is going to premiere July 7th. So the Monday after you're listening, if you're listening to this episode in real time. I don't know, you guys. I am very nervous for the fate of the Bachelor franchise. I basically accidentally became a Bachelor watcher, which I can tell you more about when we do that episode, but I think there is a lot riding on this season of Bachelor in Paradise. It used to be such a fun aspect of the franchise. I feel like it used to be the one that like pretty much everyone would tune in for, even if they weren't watching Bachelor or Bachelorette throughout the year. I feel like it was really fun for a couple of seasons in there, maybe seasons like 4 through 7. And then I feel like the last 3 or so seasons of Bachelor in Paradise have just made it seem like they're all being tortured or something. And it's just not been fun. It's not been summery. It's definitely not been like hot and steamy in the way that they think it is, because they have people like living in this beachside place where they have filmed Bachelor in Paradise for basically all of the seasons, where they're like sleeping on bunk beds. It's like not air conditioned. There are all kinds of creatures and critters crawling around by them. And that's just not a nice way to spend your summer vacation. Like, I would constantly be bitten by bugs. I would be complaining about the humidity. And I would not be a happy camper, I don't think, if I were on that show, especially if I were trying to like look presentable and look like the best possible version of myself while I'm on TV and trying to get people to think I'm attractive. Like, I don't understand how anyone has gone on that show and looked good in any respect when I look at the living conditions of where they film everything. And naturally, a lot of people draw comparisons between Bachelor in Paradise and Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise and Love is Blind. And I just am super curious to see how this season is going to shake out. Also, at the time I'm recording this, I believe they have not renewed The Bachelor for January yet, which is pretty surprising. Usually at this point, they will have ordered the next season of The Bachelor. Also, I'm pretty sure this would be Bachelor season 30, if I'm right. It's hard to imagine that they wouldn't see a 30th season through. I think Joey Graziadei was 28 and Grant Ellis was 29, so I believe this would be 30. But frankly, I think because of the ratings and I think because of different streaming platforms, and then obviously like the success of last year's Love Island, which I think drew the biggest audience ever to watch the show, I don't know. I think the fate of the Bachelor franchise is a little sticky right now, but I would actually love to do a deep dive into that just because I think it is kind of related to content creation and social media, since so many people from the show do turn out to be influencers or content creators after the fact. I feel like there's so much that goes into that type of media and how traditional media has changed over the years. And I would love to get into that like in more of a deep dive. So we'll have to stay tuned to see how the first few episodes of this season go. Okay, next up, Emily in Paradise. This is editing Austen jumping in for a second. I clearly meant to say Emily in Paris, but I had just said Paradise so many times that I got my wires crossed. So I'm talking about Emily in Paris here. I think season 5 might already be premiering this summer. They can churn out this show so quickly compared to all the other shows. I'm continually impressed by it. I just love everything about this show. Don't ever change it. I love all of their quirky little outfits. I love all the petty drama. I love the love triangles and squares and all of the different things. I love the cheesy writing and the dialogue. Like, pour this show into my brain and put me in front of a pool, and it will be like the equivalent of me drinking an iced cold lemonade all summer long. It's just so unbelievably perfect. I would say you can fast forward through the Christmas episodes in season 4, just like focus on the fun, summery feeling episodes, especially in the early seasons of this show. I just love this show. I love Ashley Park. I love the guy who plays Alfie. His name is escaping me right now. And I love Sylvie. Could we get like a prequel series of Sylvie's whole life? Because I need to know much more about that woman than I already do. But I love everything I know about her. Just such an easy watch, no notes. And then if you're looking for a little bit of a throwback, definitely watch Dawson's Creek. Oh my God. Well, the cast is stacked. You have James Van Der Beek, Katie Holmes, Joshua Jackson, Michelle Williams. Oh my God, just the petty drama. Like, in general, the stakes on this show are very low, to the point where when they get heightened, you're like actually surprised that you care so much, but otherwise it's a really easy watch. And the show takes place in Cape Side, Massachusetts. I believe they actually film in North Carolina, but that's kind of beside the point. Again, we're talking about like New England summer vibes. There's a whole like regatta episode at one point. There's an episode about one of the characters like is working on a boat and ends up going sailing, and there's just lots of shoreside, beachy vibes to this show. And if you're looking for a throwback or something to binge, I would definitely recommend it. Last I checked, it's available on Hulu. Hopefully it didn't change around on me at the time you're listening to this. But yeah, part of me is like, that's kind of like required watching in a sense, just that late 90s, early aughts type of teen drama that just literally fuels my veins somehow, just makes me feel like okay. And for any Felicity fans, which I would say is very much not a summer show because they literally like barely have any summer episodes, watch that in the fall. But Scott Foley is in season 1, so that's also worth noting. Let's move on and talk summer movies. Now, I've seen everything on this list except for one because I did crowdsource with my friends. I went out to dinner with my friends from high school, and I was also texting Caitlin saying like, hey, I'm doing a summer episode. Do you have any like required watches for summer movies or summer TV shows and things like that? So number one to me is Aquamarine. I love watching this movie at the start of summer or at the end of summer, honestly, because of The Last Splash. My girls, Emma Roberts and JoJo and Sarah Paxton. This movie is about friendship. It's about how to handle life's challenges. It's about unexpected obstacles. It's about unexpected relationships and bonds that you build. I just love everything about this movie. It has really bad CGI because it was done in like I think 2006 or so. But you got to look past that. You got to just love this movie for exactly what it is. And it made me want to get blue extensions or blue clip in pieces for my hair, which I can safely say is something I have never had the desire to do outside of watching this movie. So that's how you know the cultural influence of Aquamarine. Next up is The Parent Trap, which, if you don't know, if you somehow have not heard of this movie, it is Lindsay Lohan plays two twins who were separated at birth. One went to live with her mother in England, and the other went to live with her father in California. They end up getting sent to the same summer camp, and that actually is the big mystery of The Parent Trap. Like, in what world did her dad in California and her mom in London both somehow send their daughters to the same exact summer camp, like during the same session? I just have so many questions about the logistics of how they both actually ended up there. Obviously, it's for purposes of the movie. Like, this is not a real coincidence that could happen, but sorry, I should just suspend my disbelief. But obviously, I have a million questions about how they both ended up at this summer camp. It takes them way too long to figure out that they're twins, also, given that Lindsay Lohan is playing herself in both roles. But it is just such a perfect summer film. It has the camp vibes, it has the beachy coastal California vibes, directed by Nancy Meyers. I believe this was her directorial debut for a feature film, which is crazy to think about. Just everything about this movie is right. I'm obsessed. Dirty Dancing. This is a continuation of almost like the summer camp vibes and the dancing and the nature. And oh, there's just so much to love about Dirty Dancing. The Hannah Montana movie, very clearly a summer film. You have Secret Identity, you have outdoor concerts, you have Farm. That's three things that you can already check off your list for a great summer feature. But also, it's one of those heartfelt Disney films that actually makes you appreciate everything that the series was leading up to the movie and makes you see the production value of what you can do when you go beyond just the classic Disney Channel budget. I'm not gonna lie, that movie gets me emotional. So much great music in that. Also, Crazier by Taylor Swift, The Hoedown Throwdown, of course, The Climb. Obviously, that is a pivotal part of this movie. Oh, and Butterfly Fly Away. It's not a bad song. It's really not. It's very sweet when you're watching the movie. While we're in the Disney Channel original movie universe, we have to mention the Lizzie McGuire movie. So Lizzie McGuire graduates middle school, goes on a trip to Italy with her school, but mostly skips all of the activities when she gets mistaken for a pop star, and her singing partner Paolo is trying to convince her to stand in this girl's place. Again, another case of mistaken identity, looking at how friendships change and develop over time, unexpected friendships. Sneaking around in Italy in the 8th grade, like, we all wish we were that cool. I will tell you, as someone who went on 2 school sanctioned trips, that it is really hard to sneak around, and I had no desire to break the rules on a school trip, especially one that I felt very lucky to go on. Okay, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2, the one where they go to Greece. Put that movie on if you just want to be transported to the summer state of mind. There is swimming in the ocean, there's riding donkeys up the mountains, there's dancing, there's so much going on. And I also love that everybody kind of has their own storyline going on, but that they still come together in the end. Spoiler alert, it's called Sisterhood though, like, you know that everyone's gonna be good. I actually remember seeing this movie in theaters. Okay, I'm a real Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2 fan. Okay, so the one movie from this list that I have not watched is Jaws, but obviously this is maybe like the summer movie. And I have not watched it because I'm typically a scaredy cat, but I also get the sense that it's not actually as scary as I think it is. So maybe I'll give Jaws a watch this summer. I don't know. But obviously, that will get you in the summer state of mind for sure and will make you very conscious the next time you go into the ocean. You will not be surprised in the slightest to hear that Mamma Mia is on this list. I mean, all of the ABBA songs set in Greece. Just beautiful summer coastal vibes. You get pretty much every storyline in Mamma Mia. You get the little mystery component about who's Sophie's dad. You get the love stories for both her and her mom. You get her friends' side plots. You get the musical aspect. They really took every genre and they said, we will make an incredible musical about this. And then they cast Amanda Seyfried and Meryl Streep. And honestly, excellent decisions all around. Would highly suggest this movie. Have not seen Mamma Mia 2, I will say. Let me know if I should watch that. Okay, now as you're listening to this episode, I am probably watching this movie as we speak. That is National Treasure. National Treasure to me is required watching every 4th of July. I started doing this, I think, in 2018, and I've kept up the tradition ever since. I'm absolutely obsessed. I could probably recite every single line of this movie back to you, and it's just such a like it's just such a crazy premise. And there are no notes about this movie. Like every scene is perfect. The vision to see the treasured past, the Charlotte, like I literally could act this out for you scene by scene if you wanted me to. I don't know why you would want me to, but just know that I could if that ever came up. Okay, The Great Gatsby. Have not watched this in a while, and I also have not read this in a while, but obviously it's summer in the Hamptons. It's opulent wealth. It is a little bit of mystery, a little bit of gaslighting, a little bit of love bombing. It's F. Scott Fitzgerald. You have to love it. It's a classic. And I also saw The Great Gatsby in theaters when it came out. And we're talking about like the Baz Luhrmann one from, when did that come out? Like 2015 or 2016, I want to say. I'm obsessed. I really do love it. I bet you can all guess the next one if I just like start from the beginning. Ready? This is how this movie starts, and you can probably immediately guess what it is. Summer, 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 summer. If you're like, what time is it? Summertime. Then you are correctly a fan of High School Musical 2. Again, logistically, so many questions about this. Like, everyone really wanted to get the exact same summer job working at the exact same place. No one had like a family vacation or something that interfered with part of this schedule. Like, Jason didn't say like, hey guys, I would love to work here. Just so you know, I'm going to be in Florida for 2 weeks with my family, so like I won't be here during this duration. Like no one had anything else to do. I also have questions about who specifically was on the baseball teams for I Don't Dance, but I don't care about any of that. I just want to hear Ashley Tisdale sing Fabulous. I want to see the end of summer concert. I want to see them all hanging out by the pool. If I were to make one edit here in 2025, I think we could probably cut Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apua. I mean, it's not really essential to the story, and it's also not, the best thing that's ever been in a High School Musical movie. So I think we could probably do without it. Moving on, the Barbie movie. Hello, it is such a summer movie if I've ever seen one. This movie screams summer. There's rollerblading in Santa Monica. There is beach. Ken does beach. There's all these different beach scenes. There's riding around in a convertible. There's dance numbers. The soundtrack to this movie is a full playlist of summer bangers. I don't know if What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish is a summer banger, but if you're having like a sad girl moment for the summer, you could keep it on the playlist. I'm not opposed to that. And then I did put 500 Days of Summer on here. I think more so based on the name than the like vibe of the movie, but I don't know. I guess it is still a summery movie in a sense because of summer. I haven't rewatched that actually in a very long time. I would rewatch that. I just have to find out where it's streaming. Okay, I think it's streaming on Hulu. Yeah, I kind of want to rewatch 500 Days of Summer. And that's a very like melancholy movie if you're looking to throw something like that into your rotation, I would say. Okay, moving on to some summer book recommendations. I am going to start with 3 authors who write very summer heavy books that I think you guys would like that I can recommend. And then I'm going to go for a few individual recommendations. So if you're looking for an author's catalog to kind of dive into, number 1, Emily Henry. I feel like she is known for the beach read, and actually Beach Read is the name of one of her books. So if you're looking for something super dead on, you could start right there. I haven't read Beach Read yet or People We Meet on Vacation, but they would both be on my list to bring to like a beach day or a day by the lake or a tropical vacation somewhere. Two Emily Henry books that I have read and really liked that I can definitely recommend as good beach reads, quote unquote, are Funny Story and Book Lovers. Funny Story I read a few months ago, earlier this year. That takes place in Michigan, but on like coastal Michigan. I think the town in the book is made up, but I believe it is supposed to be like along the coast of Michigan by the beaches. And then Book Lovers takes place in a small town. I feel like it's outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm forgetting the name of the town from the book. But essentially, it's like the quintessential cute small town. Emily Henry is known for writing rom-coms, by the way, so pretty much every book I'm mentioning here are romantic comedies, although she did just come out with The Great Big Beautiful Life. Is that what it was called? Okay, the book is called Great Big Beautiful Life. It came out in April of this year. It looks like it was a Reese's Book Club pick, which I guess isn't that surprising. I mean, everyone seems to love an Emily Henry book. But I believe that one is not a romantic comedy. I don't want to read too much of the description and stuff because I don't want to accidentally spoil myself. I think that one has more to do with writing and storytelling than it does with the typical rom-com that she usually writes. But honestly, definitely just look into her whole catalog. I mean, she's a popular author for a reason, so that would definitely be a recommendation. Next up is Carly Fortune. I think Carly Fortune is my current favorite author who is actively publishing books. I could pretty much safely recommend all of Carly's books. I've read the first 3. I actually have the 4th right behind me. Here it is. If you're watching on YouTube, I just pulled it out. It's called One Golden Summer. I was looking for this at my local Hoboken bookshop and they kept not having it in stock. So I did finally find it at the Strand in New York City. Similar to Emily Henry, Carly Fortune writes rom-coms, and most of her rom-coms are told in a then and now timeline. So you'll get a little bit of what's going on now, but then you'll kind of go back in time to fill in the blanks. Like I mentioned, that's one of my favorite ways to read a book and kind of piece everything together. I think this will be next on my list. I might bring this on the next trip that we're going on this month, which I'm super excited to tell you more about soon. But last year we read This Summer Will Be Different for book club, and One Golden Summer is actually going to be our August book club pick. Another summer author who you probably all know, Ellen Hildebrand. As mentioned, she wrote The Perfect Couple, which was turned into a limited series Netflix show. We also just read Swan Song this summer for book club. And the only other Ellen book I've read so far is Winter Street, which I would obviously not recommend for summer, but I think is maybe my favorite book of hers that I've read so far. So you could obviously dive into Ellen's whole catalog as well. And then a few quick book recommendations that I'll do rapid fire. One is Primetime Romance by Kate Robb. I read this last year, and if you watch Dawson's Creek, like I mentioned, this is actually a really interesting book where the main character makes a wish on her birthday. She is upset after breaking up with a boyfriend. She has moved in with a random roommate, and she makes a wish on her birthday and ends up getting swept into the world of her favorite TV show, Carson's Cove. Do you see the connection and inspiration here? Dawson's Creek, Carson's Cove. We're so smart here putting 2 and 2 together, aren't we? And she doesn't get transported there alone. So then she has to kind of figure out like how she got there, how she can get out of it, and if there's any way to give the characters on the show a happy ending while simultaneously getting her own happy ending. Oh my God, I ate up the concept of this book. It was literally just so fun to suspend my disbelief and dive into this world. I absolutely loved the writing. I would also recommend Main Characters by Hannah Orenstein, which I may have already spoken about on the podcast. I read this just a few weeks ago, like I just finished it up, so it's very fresh in my mind. And this book has some Parent Trap vibes to it. It's about half sisters who don't meet until after their father passes. They both are at the lake house that he owns in Maine, and then they realize that they kind of have to figure out like what to do with the lake house. They are sharing space and butting heads a little bit because they are just really getting to know each other for the first time ever. And there's also some very interesting dynamics with their other family members and with their partners, or who their current partners are, and maybe who some other potential love interests could be. I really enjoyed the writing and the pacing of this one. I found myself like, all right, like we want to find out what happens. Let's keep the story going. It definitely felt like a page turner to me and one that would be perfect to read, ideally by like a lake somewhere, because that is where the story takes place. And then the other one I wanted to recommend is Eligible by Curtis Sittenfeld. So this is a modern day retelling of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, who I'm actually named after. Shout out Jane Austen. But in this modern retelling, the love interest was actually the bachelor and is now like outside of that world. So if you do like the concept of the bachelor and you want to read a modern retelling or interpretation of this book, then I would highly suggest picking it up. I do have a few summary books on my TBR, which I know I've talked about in my reading updates episode, so I'll just go through them very quickly. One I'm actually in the middle of right now, The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. I also want to read The 5-Star Weekend by Ellen Hildebrand, Bad Summer People by Emma Rosenblum, and then Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So hopefully I can get through a couple of these titles before we hit Labor Day. And that brings us to music. Now, I did debate giving you guys a little sampling here for each one of these songs, but what I actually think I'm going to do is put together a Spotify playlist with all of these songs and link it in the show notes so that you can go listen to the actual artists and you don't have to put up with my singing, which I know can come out from time to time in the podcast as a former retired girl who used to do musicals in high school. That's just something that is hard for me to turn off. So I'll plan on linking the playlist down below, but I'll quickly just chat through a few songs that really just scream summer to me. These summer songs can transport me to a whole host of places, whether it's driving with the windows down, whether it's at a very specific rooftop bar in New York City, whether it's down the shore, whether it's at the beach or the pool, or even a summer music festival. Okay, to start out, Island in the Sun by Weezer. This is also in Aquamarine, if you know, you know. And that to me, as soon as I hear those first couple of guitar strums, just triggers summer in my head. Summer Paradise by Simple Plan featuring Sean Paul. I'm not going to lie, I forgot all about this song until we were at the Avril Lavigne concert a few weeks ago and Simple Plan opened for her. Absolutely love that song. Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson, a little bit of a slower beat, but there's just something very like beachy, coastal. I can almost hear the waves in the background of that song, even though there really aren't any. Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift. I mean, it's in the name, that's a given. Burn by Ellie Goulding. And honestly, so many of Ellie Goulding's songs give summer to me, but I was trying to break up a lot of the artists here, give you some variety. Shockingly, this playlist will not contain only Taylor Swift songs, although there's at least 4 on here that I'm aware of. Burning Up by the Jonas Brothers. I mean, if you're not screaming Red Dress in the middle of that song, you're not listening to it correctly. Okay, this is a bit of a throwback. Sally Izza by Shwazy. The bop, 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 like the bops and the beeps in this song in the background, I feel like are what turn it into a summer song in my head. And then a very similar song, I'm going to try to put these two back to back in the playlist. Three Nights by Dominic Fike. I don't know a single other song by this man. I think my friend Matt introduced me to this song a few years ago. There's, again, something about the bum, ba-dum, bum, that just makes you feel like you're next to an ocean. Like it just mentally, truly drops me down in front of the water and the rolling waves. So we obviously love that. Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter and Flowers by Miley Cyrus. I feel like these were both in contention for Song of the Summer last year, and I am absolutely bringing them back again for another round. Oh, this one is very like my first year post grad in New York City coded, which is Green Light by Lorde. I listened to that song every chance I got when this album came out in 2017. I feel like it was made to be my entire personality for at least 3 months, probably longer. Move Along by the All American Rejects. This is also, I think, the last song in She's the Man. Should I have put She's the Man on there? Maybe not, though, because that's about like school. I don't know, something about soccer and the fact that it's school to me is just makes it not a summer movie, but I guess it kind of does have some summer vibes to it. But anyway, Move Along by the All American Rejects. I mean, that is just something that I can hear in my head already, like at a dive bar out in the city, and that just makes me smile. Timber by Pitbull featuring Kesha. I thought this was Kesha's song. I looked it up. It's by Pitbull. Didn't realize that. Cigarette Daydream by Cage the Elephant. This immediately transports me back to Firefly Music Festival, being there with my cousin and all of his friends. Like, oh my God, we love that song. I just light up whenever I hear the da-na-na, you know, at the beginning. I'm sorry. I know I said I wouldn't subject you to my singing. That was humming though, to be fair. Okay. Next 3 songs. This is like as country as it gets for me because I am historically not very into country music. I have one exception, which is feel free to play Chicken Fried by Zach Brown Band anytime between Memorial Day and Labor Day. I will happily sing along to that song anytime during that 3-month period. And then the other two are Taylor Swift songs from her debut album, which is Should Have Said No and Picture to Burn. I love that we can listen to debut again just as much as we want to, lean in fully. I feel like it is going to be kind of a debut summer for me musically. Okay, and then I've got a lot of throwbacks after this. Good Time by Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen. If you haven't heard this song, go listen to it. It is truly a banger. Daylight by Matt and Kim. Matt and Kim to me were one of those bands I discovered, I think, in the early 2010s where I just could not stop listening to all of their stuff. Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. I suspect it will get the most play that it gets all year, probably in the next few days if you're listening to this in real time. She for Liz by Parachute. This is, I feel like, maybe the most hidden song on this list that the fewest people know, but if you know this one, then we share a very deep invisible string musical connection. So shout out to you if you know this song. Counting Stars by One Republic. That to me it just feels like summer night, like running through the city streets, like, you know, slow motion montage, like you're laughing with your friends and this is playing in the background. Check Yes Juliet by We the Kings. Memories by David Guetta featuring Kid Cudi. Cake by the Ocean, and obviously this song references the ocean, which is summer related, but the thing that cracks me up the most about this song, and again, this is like the only DNCE song that I really know because otherwise I'm more familiar with the Jonas Brothers catalog, is that someone in the band was like trying to say sex on the beach and they said cake by the ocean. So that's how they ended up writing this song. I appreciate when an inside joke is shared with the world like that because I like being in on the joke. My House by Flo Rida. That was like the house party song of what, 2015, 2016? When did that song even come out? It came out 2015. So that must have been like the house party song the summer of 2015. Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card. That might be the oldest song on this whole list. Animal by Neon Trees, Hard Times by Paramore. That's actually a newer Paramore song, but I really love it. It's so catchy. And August by Taylor Swift to tie it all in a bow. Like I said, I will make a playlist with all of those songs on Spotify and link it in the show notes so that you can listen to it. I hope that this episode has given you a ton of inspiration for getting into the summer state of mind, even if you're listening to this on a rainy day, or even if you are in the city where it's hot and humid and you just need like a little bit of a mental escape, mental reset, get yourself into some happier place in your mind. I hope that this was able to provide all of that inspiration for you and that you enjoyed chatting with me about all of these songs, books, movies, and TV shows. I really appreciate you guys for being here. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode.